Hello and welcome to Cinema Sibs. I'm
My
your
name,
co-host.
my, I told you I'm never gonna get this stuff right. You go first.
Hi, I'm your co-host Rachel Leishman,
And I'm your co-host, Patrick Leishman.
and this is a podcast where we're two siblings and we talk about movies that we watched growing up and why we like them. That's all.
Uh,
Why'd you get
well,
so
I'm excited about this one. I was trying to see what was wrong with you because you were just like,
I was coughing and I muted myself so it wasn't loudly on
oh,
the microphone, and now I
and
had to explain why I muted myself.
and being an old person, the sound went out and I got closer to the screen. I have
I just
headphones in.
simply had muted myself so that people didn't have to hear me cough.
I'm excited about this week's movie.
Yeah. Uh, I I'll be honest before we even start. I saw your message where you were like, "Yeah, ending made me cry more," and I had just came out of seeing Killers of the Flower Moon for the second time, laughed a little, and was like, "LOL," he cried, and then sobbed like a baby when I watched it. It was
Well,
like I
before
should
we
have
get
known.
started, I would just like to point out that I've seen thousands of baseball games in my life. And of those thousands of baseball games, like 98% of them I watched with my dad. And he's not with us any longer. So I can tell you of times I've watched this movie with my dad, and we both were like straight ahead, not looking at each other at the end, and just been like, yeah, that was a good movie, huh? Like, but now it's like my wife and daughter, like they were gone. Okay, I watched the movie by myself. Later found out my wife had never seen it, so I was like, oh, I guess I'll watch it with you again. But
Oh no, we have to
so
do all three. We have to do. There's three of them. We have to do all three with Chelsea. I would like to do them all
what,
with
Bull
her.
Durham,
Bull
Field of
Durham, this, and
Dreams,
For
and
Love of the
For Love
Game.
of the Game.
Yeah,
The
because I
baseball parts
love the baseball
in For
movies.
Love of the Game are some of the best. It's the
Well,
other
we
parts.
can't
But we're
fight
not reviewing
about For
that
Love of the
movie.
Game. We can't fight about For Love of the Game during
I
this.
I own all those movies, so
Yeah,
and
I bought you For Love of the Game for
yeah,
$2.
that should tell you exactly
No, it was at a
where it
resale
stands.
store. It was at a resale store. It is
Which
not that the movie is
again
bad.
furthers my point. Like I don't want this movie. Take it from me. And they sold it for $2, which means that they bought it off that guy or girl for like less than $1, 30 cents probably. That's what that movie's
Anyway,
worth.
anyways, it's a Sam Raimi movie. Anyways, um,
But so the story goes is I watched this movie by myself, most of it. It gets to the ending. Like I've seen the whole movie, the part where like it's good and you're not emotional and it's just the movie. And then Karen, who is Kevin Costner's Ray Kinsella's daughter, starts her. People will come, Dad, and then all of a sudden, my daughter and wife come walking in. So it's like, great, they're in here. Maybe I won't get upset. I'll just finish the movie and like my wife and daughter are here. I'm gonna man up, and then James Earl Jones starts the baseball speech, and I'm like, from that second, as soon as he's like, "People will come, Ray," you're just like, oh, this speech is so good. And he's so like great. We're gonna do the whole movie, but I'm just saying, at that moment it starts, and I'm like, I could feel my upper lip like quivering, like my whole body like trying to like resorb the tears of
because your
like
daughter is vicious, and she would be like,
as a
"Hey,
3 year
why
old
are
would be.
yeah?" But she has a unique ability of like pinpointing exactly what you do not need anyone to say in the one moment to be like,
Oh,
Oh, now it's 10 times worse than it would have been if you just didn't say anything.
I always say like I got to teach that girl how to read a room. Like I'll be like driving, right? And I'll just be like, what this freaking guy, like what the hell, is swearing and
Uh-huh.
with a child, like I'm like this freaking like Joe Pesci Home Alone kind of swearing. You know what I mean? Like and I just need like a second to get it out of my head. But instead of like getting that second, it's just like immediately like my daughter's like yelling at me to calm down and not be angry. And she's 3, so I can't turn and be like, you need to shut the F up, like, because that's not going to go well. So then, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just like this innate
it's a
ability to enrage you further, and you can't do anything about it.
so in this she would be like, "Don't cry," and you're like, "That's just gonna make it worse.
Yeah,
I'm
like
going to cry."
you need to learn how to read a room.
Well, I mean, it is a Dead Dad Club movie. Oh, I have to add that to my letterbox. I wrote a novel about this movie on Letterbox, which I said I would never do because I think people who Patrick, I know you're not on social
Because
media.
you don't like to be
Letterboxd,
put in a box.
a Letterboxd as a whole, as a social media app, I think some people take it very seriously and they are like, "Here is my review of this movie." It is not a site for you to write a serious review on.
You lost me at social media.
It's basically where you go and you log a movie that you've seen and you write some quippy thing about it. I have fun. A lot of people use it as like they'll link to like their written reviews. I use it as fun because I have to write actual reviews for work. But whatever. For this movie, I wrote like paragraphs about Field of Dreams when I watched it last night, which I said I wouldn't ever do because I don't like when people write novels. Just because I'm like, that's not what I think Letterboxd is. But all of it was like explaining why Field of Dreams is so important to kind of like how I interact with baseball as a whole, and like especially like Kevin Costner baseball movies because of how we used to watch them a lot growing up. Like Bull Durham is the one I think that I've seen the least out of the three of them,
Which is
but I've still
ironic
seen
because
it a lot.
that's Tim Robbins meeting Susan Sarandon on that set.
Yeah, but I also think I still have seen it like a lot, but it's like the one I've seen the least out of the three of them
It's
because it
this.
was like
It's
this and For Love of the Game are the two
well,
that
it's
Dad
it's
always put on.
like the like if we're going with the Kevin Costner baseball trilogy, it's like the law of trilogies. Like you have Bull Durham, which is like Spider-Man 1. We'll talk in terms that you understand.
Jesus
And then
Christ.
you have Field of Dreams, which is like Spider-Man 2. Like which is like, wow, Spider-Man 1 was awesome, but Spider-Man 2 is so much better than Spider-Man 1 because you don't have that whole I know that you're like, "Oh, I love Spider-Man 1," but I'm talking about
I'm making this face because I know what you're calling For Love of the Game, and that's why I'm making this face.
yes, Spider-Man 3. I don't want to speak
Also
ill
directed
of
by
the
Sam
dead.
Raimi.
Yeah, I
Also
don't want to speak
directed
ill of the
by
dead,
Sam Raimi.
but by far the worst part of For Love of the Game is Kelly Preston's whole
And Dad's
storyline.
love of it, and Dad's love of For Love of the Game. So, two dead people? You're
Yeah,
insulting two dead people?
I'm sorry. You know, I would be a hypocrite if I backed off on my assessment of it. But just quickly, the love story is just bad. It's I look. I don't know if it's Kelly Preston's acting or the terrible writing because she's been good in other things. So we'll just say it's the terrible writing, and she was trying to like make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I guess would be a good way to put it because oh my goodness, I'm not going to get into it because we're
Yeah,
talking
and
about
this is
Field of
Field of
Dreams
Dreams.
here, but it's just like these amazing baseball scenes with John C. Riley and like all these like great like
Clear the Mechanism is still one of the coolest things I've ever
it's
seen a
that
movie
the
do.
second our father saw that movie, That's all he would say when he was watching baseball games. He would have his baseball and he'd hold it in his hand and he'd go, clear the
Clear the
mechanism.
mechanism.
And then he'd pretend like he was throwing a pitch, and it was always a fastball. Like, because I got this thing on my wall here. I don't want to take it down, but it's a perfect baseball's pitching grips guide for the perfect pitch. And he would look at that thing and do the fastball one, and then like go like that. And he was a good baseball player, but much like Ray Kinsella in this movie, by the time we met our dad, he had like one good leg and would tell us how he used to be really fast and a really good pitcher and all this stuff. Like, all right, cool. The difference between Ray Kinsella's dad and our dad, though, is that our dad was a hippie and we got along with him the
Yeah.
whole time. Ray Kinsella is a hippie in this movie, and his dad's the guy that hates hippies. Like, it's the best way to put it. And that's like the crux of the whole movie is the father-son relationship between John Kinsella and Ray Kinsella. But yeah, like so I look at this movie and I'm like, wow, like, it's like if you took Ray Kinsella and John Kinsella and merged them, then you have dad because you got like the
Yeah.
hippie that worked hard and like was like old by the time. I mean, he was 30 when I was born, 40 when you were born, and by the time I was born, he had like that one good leg, and his elbows already started going out because he
His
worked in.
knees were done when I
Yeah,
was little.
yeah. So like we've got that dynamic, but like this, like, and you hear stories from him and his friends that like he was really good athlete, he was really good at baseball, and like that's where I never refused to play catch with dad. But that's where the disconnect goes because he like, or that's where the other similarity is because like in this movie, Ray Kinsella, like, and it's in the middle roughly, but he tells a story about how like my dad never made it, so he wanted me to make it. I never felt that kind of pressure, but I did have a dad. I don't know if you have the same perspective because I was a boy and baseball was his favorite thing. That wanted me to be way better than I actually was. Like
I was
if
gonna
they
ask that because I have mine is similar
he
but different, and I put this in my review, and I was gonna bring it up later. But finish what you're
he
saying,
would
and then I'll say it.
I have I am a terrible baseball player. The only sport I was ever even halfway decent at was football. Like I lack the hand-eye coordination. First of all, I'm a lefty. But my father taught me how to play baseball right-handed for some reason because I think I remember him talking about how like, it's easier or whatever. And I'm like, but I'm left-handed. How is it easier? Yeah, not then. I was just like, whatever you say, man. But the whole like he just was like wanting me to play baseball, be around baseball, and like it was just like this major source of insecurity and just like I don't want to do this when I was really
Mm-hmm.
young. As I got older, I embraced it and like I said, I've seen thousands of baseball games. I like baseball. I just for lack of a better phrase, horribly suck at baseball. But we had this stat that if five fly balls were hit to me and I was playing right field because right field is if you have to play baseball, the best spot to be in is right field, especially as a little leaguer because it is the least likely to get a hit. But say I get
Mm-hmm.
five fly balls in right field and I dropped four of them, but I caught one. Oh, but that one you caught was the hardest one. Like you, like it was always. I was in his. I was way better than I actually was when he would tell the stories, and I was like, why can't you just say I suck? Because that's not what he wanted,
Because it,
you
yeah.
know. So but that's where I like every time I watch this movie, I always just like see that crap. But I'm like, I would never refuse to play baseball or catch with him like Ray Kinsella did. Although, like I said, our dad was not, he was a hard worker that like literally worked his body to like being like kind of crippled because every one of these injuries we talk about, like his elbows, his knees, they're all work related when
Yeah.
he was working in the steel mill and all that stuff. So, much like John Kinsella, Ray's dad in the movie. Ray Kinsella, by the way, Kevin Costner. Uh, that's what happened with our dad. But we were always cool, man. Other than like when I would be like trying to just enjoy a sport because it was all sports. But you'd be trying to enjoy a sport and you just hit something wrong, and it's like it's a Saturday afternoon. You're just out with your buddies playing golf for that one time a year that I play golf, and I would miss it a drive, and I just want to like get be like, oh well, it was my and then he'd be like, you know what you did wrong there, and it got to a
Correct it.
point where it would be like, I don't care, I just like don't tell me, like can't you just like not tell me? And the answer was no, he couldn't, he had to.
Well, I think what I wrote, and I said this in my letterbox review, and I think we've talked about it before, but I think he would never have admitted it, but it is kind of the truth. Was that I think when he had you, he was like, "Oh, cool, a boy, like he's gonna do all these." Much like when I was born, and you were like a little sibling. I'm gonna teach him all about my superhero nerdy shit, and then mom was like, "It's a little sister," and you're like, "Okay, great, I'm gonna teach her about all my superhero nerdy shit," and you didn't miss a beat. Dad did miss a beat, and he was like, I don't know what to do with a little girl. And then
Maybe she'll
I was
play
the
softball.
wait, and then I was the athletic one, and he was like, I don't know what to do with an athletic girl because I was a cheerleader, I was a dancer, I was good at softball. I like, and I was good at softball. Like I was a catcher. I could hit the ball really far. Like I was not bad at it, and
Did
he
you play
like
fast pitch
sort of
softball?
didn't know how to go. Yeah, but I didn't play it for long because we moved. But
No, because I was just gonna say catcher in softball might as well be a right fielder in regular baseball.
no, except that those girls in Newcastle
But
sucked,
fast pitch is different.
and when I was done was when a girl hit me in the face with the bat because she wanted to walk and was pissed, and her dad was the coach and said that little girl's lying. And I literally had the bat, like I had caught it like this so I would avoid it hitting me in the face. And dad was like, "Do you not?" My daughter caught the bat because I like went like this to stop it from hitting me. Like I had the mask on, but like it was like coming at me. And her dad goes, "Your daughter's a little liar. She's trying to get my daughter kicked out of the game." And I went, "I don't have to deal with this. I don't want to do this. I'm not being told I'm a liar in the middle of a fucking game.
Was
I'm
this
out." And I like
when I was in
walked.
college or something?
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was probably like 9, so you would have been 19. So
Oh, yeah.
I was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't need to be told I'm a liar when I caught a bat because your daughter was pissed that she got out. But
I'm just, I mean, the big revelation here is that you said you were a really good athlete and good at softball because, like, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I've seen you, like,
I mean, I
walk through
can't play
screen
ball.
doors and trip over shit. Like, what, what
Walking,
graceful athletic ability are you not
yeah,
showing me?
it's. I don't know what it is. Here's the thing. I don't know
That's
what
why
it
I'm
is
like, was I in
about.
college for these athletic years?
Let me explain something about myself that I realize the older I get. Normal human functions about myself, I can't do. I can't walk. I can't just like function as a human. But if you're like, hey, Rachel, here's this activity that I need you to do, and here are the steps, I'm very good at it. So it's like sports, dancing, like cheerleading, all of that, where it's like, here are the functions, and here is how you do them. I am graceful enough to get it done. I don't fall. I don't trip. None of that happens. But if you tell me you have to walk from point A to point B and not trip, it won't happen. I will be on my face. My shoe will somehow
Yeah, like
cave in on itself,
I
and I'll be
I
on the
obviously
floor.
missed some like crucial years of your life like in person because I was just like,
Well,
what?
in your defense, when I was playing softball, you were like a
3,000 miles
junior.
away.
Well, no, you were a junior to like senior in high school, so you were not coming to my softball games, and then you were in college. So it was like a time in your life when you went, I'm not interested in what my little sister is doing,
Yeah,
which was sports. So you
yeah.
were like, I don't give a shit. And
Peppermint
I
Patty
was good at it.
emerged is what you're saying.
I was good at sports. Sorry, I'm good at sports. And
Yeah.
then David, who thinks he's good at sports, is absolutely not good at sports.
Yeah. Well, I also like had this like I didn't I probably with practice could have been better than I was, but like I don't care. Like, but for instance, last night I found a small, like I installed this whole like elaborate shower thing that I wanted to do, and I found this like small little drip like coming out, and I was up till like 2 o'clock in the morning until that drip was gone. Like that's what I care about is projects,
I
not
will
getting
say,
better at sports. Like I think even back then I was like, please, like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna make it to the pro level. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Podcaster?
you're like, not a baseball player, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing though, I do still enjoy like as a person, and I wish there were more of them like around here. Is like, I really wanted to go to batting cages recently because like I'm not good at golf. I've never been good at golf. Even mini golf, I get like halfway through it and I'm bored. I don't like it. And so like things like top golf and stuff, I'm like, this is fun and fine, but I want like that for like batting cages, which is dangerous. I understand why a food and drink thing with a batting cage doesn't really work, but I want more
How's
of
that
those
any
like all
different
around.
than being on the second level where you're swinging a golf
Yeah,
club?
yeah, I guess true. Well, because the ball is not coming at you,
Yeah, but
and you
there's
have
a
to like
ledge.
swing.
You're on the
There is.
second level. There's like
There's
big
still a
cavernous
net.
opening below you.
There's still like a net, so that if you fall, you can just get caught in the net. But
Oh yeah, because
a
nets
ball coming
save
at
you 100% of the time.
you, but a ball coming at you when you're not paying attention and drinking
I've seen
is
that crap happen
significantly
in
more
golf.
dangerous.
But that's another perfect example. You know how many times like I've gone golfing in the last 5 years? Five. The answer is five. But
One time
uh,
here.
yeah. But the other thing that cracks me up is every time someone will be like, I'll hit a ball like a slice, and like I played the part. I'll be like, oh man, I gotta that sucks. And every time, without fail, someone will be like, you have a really good swing. You just need to get out there and like practice. And I just go, okay.
You're like, thanks.
Why don't you crap in one hand and wait for me to practice in the other and see what gets filled up first?
Jesus. But to the point that you were making when we started this, talking about who is better at sports, it's me, the gymnast cheerleader, who was
That's
good at
awesome.
softball.
I'm happy for
Um,
you. Look what you're doing with that ability.
I bike everywhere. That's what I'm doing with that
But
ability.
I know, but yeah, like congratulations. I can, I have less athletic ability, but I too can keep a bike upright while I ride it.
That's what I do. Or I also
But
use my cheerleading and gymnastics skills to just
yeah,
entertain
when you
people
fall off the
laughing.
bike to land on your feet, like
Yeah,
a cat, like Benji
exactly.
the cat.
Yeah, like my cat who is out there probably yelling because I'm in here and didn't let him in.
So,
But all of that to talk about Field of Dreams, a
which,
great movie with Kevin Costner.
and can I just point out, I say this every week, and I'm going to say it again. The music for this movie is perfect. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean both kinds of music, the score and the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like both
Well, I
of
mean,
them are perfect. And the other thing I love about this movie is they waste zero time. It's one of those movies where like the opening is, "Hi, I'm Ray. This is my dad." Pictures and then eventually video as you get to the era where there's like cameras that were like motion cameras.
mm-hmm.
Wow. And like it's like here's a picture of my dad. He was born in 1898. He did this. He played baseball. He loved the he loved the Yankees or whatever. I think and then like he met my mom. Then I was born. Mom died. And then like I told dad to F off. And then I met like my wife. What's his wife's name? Because she's my favorite
Annie.
character, Annie.
Annie.
And like and then he just it ends with it gets you up to the point where he goes, and I'm 36 years old. I just bought a farm, and I never did anything crazy in my life until I heard the voice. And like literally, like that's how the movie starts: is if you build it, he will come. Like it's just like yes, like it's so refreshing because you just like don't see that all the time. That like zero time is wasted. Like it's just here's what the movie's about. This dude works in a cornfield. Hear the voice. Go. like that, and it's just great. Like that, like
And his wife really does just go, "Oh, you want to just cut everything down? All right, we're cutting down
it's a
this whole ass field to make
it is
a
a
field."
perfect, really a supportive portrayal of a supportive marriage, and I the one thing about that is that like it's still in the 80s, and like Kevin Costner definitely does not support his wife as much as she supports him throughout the movie,
Mhm.
but you get the impression that like it goes both ways. It's just that they're telling the story like where she's supporting him, but she does the right things throughout. Like you know what I mean? Like she's like, sure, if you want to make a cornfield, like we can swing it, or a baseball field out of the corn. Like I think we can swing it. So they do it, right? He and like that's the he hears the voice. He asks if she heard it, and like that's the theme throughout the movie is, and I they don't really touch on it, but it's like eventually you become a believer, and once you become a believer, that's when you hear the voice because not everybody sees the players, not everybody
Especially
hears
not,
Timothy Busfield. You mean the guy from 30 something?
yeah, that
I
fucking
said that
guy.
to my I said that yesterday. I was like, yeah, and the guy from 30 something, and my wife goes, "What's 30 something?" And I was like, "Oh, it was a TV show that was definitely off the air before you were born, and it wasn't even like one of those ones that they air and repeats now. Like, you
He's
know,
been in other stuff though.
oh yeah, yeah, he was in Nerds, Revenge of the Nerds. He was the dude with the really thick glasses that had the red hair. I'm trying. I don't remember any other than Lewis Skolnick. I don't remember anybody and Booger.
But he's just like, that man really went out of his way to be the most obnoxious person possible for no damn reason in this movie. Oh, he's in stripes.
Well,
I was like,
no, I disagree because I'm an older brother to a younger sister, and he thinks that like Ray is screwing his sister and his niece over, and he's going with the blood. Even though his sister is saying all these, no, I'm saying blood is thicker than water,
I
kind of
know, but
thing.
that was the most
You're,
Italian thing you've
yeah,
ever said.
with
You were
the
like, going with the blood.
no, you want to see the most Italian thing ever? The most current season of Kitchen Nightmares. There's an episode. I think it's episode 3. That's my favorite show of all time. Just
Yeah, I
like
know, but
I
you
mean,
just were
I
like
love
kitchen
Gordon
nightmares.
Ramsay. No, but there's this episode. It's like Dumb Mimos or something like that is the name of the restaurant.
Uh,
It's in New Jersey, and like it is like if you want to know what like the most Italian family of all, because we're Italian, so it's like we can say this, but like, dude, their names are like Vito and Vincent, and like they own this.
we all got cousins
Yeah,
that are
they
named
own this
Jimmy.
restaurant, and like it is the most Italian. Like it's almost a stereotype how Italian they are, but they're legitimate. Like they're real people, and it's just like, oh, you're the most Italian people I've ever seen in my life. Like to the point where their dad's a New Jersey police detective, and
Oh
it's all
yeah.
about familia. You know, like what's
So it's
this?
all about the blood, like this brother.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's why he's acting like that. I know that, like, but if you think about like the backstory there, it's like that's his little sister, and
Which
and she's always been a little like pixie
I agree
fairy
with,
dust girl or
but
whatever.
I
Like,
do wish that was like where this movie, like, because it is, you're thrown in the midst of like Ray's journey of like, I gotta build this field because I have to kind of make it up to Shoeless Joe with what I said that had nothing to really do with like Shoeless Joe Jackson had no idea that he called that this random kid said he was a criminal to his dad, but he has to make it up to him. Like that's what I do love
well,
about
it's
this movie. Wait, let me like what I love about this movie is that in theory, Ray has no idea that if you build it, he will come means that his father will eventually come. He thinks it is just like, well, Shoeless Joe Jackson's gonna come, and then the team's gonna come play. Like it is never like in his mind that like his dad is eventually gonna show up and he's gonna have a moment with his dad. And I do like that, like he is just like building this field because he's like, well, it's what I got to do, and it's telling me what I'm doing. And I were thrown into his journey so much that I wish we had like a minute to justify that the brother is like, hey, sis, you good? Because it
Yeah,
does come across
yeah.
as like villain, like when he is so angry
But
that they
but
buy the house and is like, my partners are gonna just take it from you guys and you'll be on the street. Like it's just villain, villain, villain. I'm like, I wanted one you good, and then I would have been like, no, he's
right.
just making sure they're fine.
Right, and but it's like that's why like I put that backstory in my own head where it's like, okay, she went to Berkeley, she married a hippie, she is a hippie. Like if you're judging a book
Yeah.
by its cover, just look at those pictures of her at the beginning of the movie where she's
What
in
you
like
mean where John Lennon's on the wall and on the
and
other
and it's
no,
just
but like
red, it's like a red hair, like cousin it, like her, that's how much red hair she has, like just all and like he's a banker, of course he's gonna think like, well, she's always been a little off, but like this is more off than usual, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
then you meet her mom too, and her mom is like Susie Stern, you know, like, I do not
it's
think it
not
is
nice.
funny like to make people feel stupid, like,
And
you
that
know,
little
like,
girl was having the time of her life, being
oh,
like,
Karen. Karen's my
yeah,
favorite of
Karen
his
and Gabby
family.
Hoffman. Yeah, Gabby Hoffman as a small child being like, LOL, they're baseball players that you guys can't see. Joke's
Right.
on you, they're playing baseball.
Right. So it's just like it's great, but you know the other thing that's great is that like they do a really good uh point of like every time that like it's like, okay, we can't do this field anymore. We're like we have to like turn this back into like for corn.
Mm.
The voice comes back. By the way, I watched the credits, not all the credits, but like just like I was distracted. Like, you know what I mean? In the credits, it says the voice as himself. Yeah, so like
But
they don't. The voice gets no credit. It's just himself.
oh wait, I remember. I just remembered something I wanted to say before. When you were talking about the music of this movie, I do think it's funny. I'm gonna date this a little from where we're recording. Obviously, these are all releasing like after we've recorded them because we waited till the strikes were over with SAG and stuff. But we did end up watching this. I don't know if you realized it on the 40th anniversary of Dad's other favorite movie, where
Pretty
Kevin
Woman.
Costner is in it. No,
Oh,
where Kevin Costner is in it, but was not credited at all. Which is the 40th anniversary of The Big Chill, where Kevin Costner is
oh,
the
he's the
dead body
corpse.
of Alex. And I was watching that movie, or like I was watching this movie, and I was like, oh, we really did like plan this on the 40th anniversary of The Big
Yeah.
Chill. And all I could think of was like, wow, this is really depressing. We planned this, and Dad's funeral, he really did make us play. You can't always get what you want because of The Big Chill. Something I think about all the time. But like what I do love about this movie, that watching it as an adult, I slightly am glad that I never watched this with Dad as an adult woman. Was like I never realized like how kind of they dress Kevin Costner in this movie as like a hot dad from the 80s. Like no one in Iowa dresses like that.
Have you
He
been
has
to
like these
Iowa?
Patrick. He has these like wireframe glasses on. His hair's all floppy. He's got really tight fitting jeans. Like
Oh, it's
this
Kevin
man,
Costner in his prime.
yeah. Like no one in Iowa. Like if
It's
someone looked like
1988,
that,
man. Like Kevin Costner could walk on water in 1988.
yeah. He like if
Then
this
Dances
man.
with Wolves came out, and all of it went to crap after that.
Yeah, I used to watch the post, and like I've loved Kevin Costner a very long time. But I'm like, this is this is like next level Kevin Costner. So like if this man if like if I was in a school board meeting when they're all like, "You can't ban this book," I was like, "A, topical. B, but if they were like, you
Still,
can't ban, yeah, still
it's
topical. But if
it's
they were
it's a
like,
it's a 35-year-old movie, and that's still topical.
but if they're like, you can't ban this book, and then like this hottie rolled up was and was just sitting there,
Oh,
I
he had
think that
glasses on, so he was looking older in that one. He had the John Lennon circle glasses in that scene.
Patrick. No,
Ease his
this is
pain.
again. No, no. That would that. This is where we don't understand each other. That
I
is
thought
what
you were gonna
most
tell
people.
me he didn't have the circle glasses on, and I'm just like, but if you're
No, he
saying like I
did.
don't get the hotness because I'm not in the guys, then yeah, I agree.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Because the glasses make him hotter.
I will concede that point that I don't get why Kevin Costner's hot.
The hottest part of this movie is when he's wearing those glasses with just like a Berkeley t-shirt on. I was like, what are we doing? Why
Well, in
is
that
he
scene, he
dressed
was
like
wearing
this?
like a white T-shirt, I thought, or a white
Yeah,
button-up shirt.
in the like school meeting where he's writing "Ease his pain" like a serial killer on a piece of paper. He's wearing like a white button up.
Right. So getting the eases pain. So that's what the movie then becomes is like a scavenger hunt of sorts, because
Yeah,
basically, um, like I said, or I started to say, like the movie starts. If you build it, he will come. The most famous of the messages that Ray Kinsella gets from the voice. And then, as I said, as soon as it becomes where all is lost and they're gonna have to like give up, then the voice comes back and tells them like ease his pain. And it's like, well, ease whose pain? Like Kevin Costner, that's when he gets kind of mad and like, like I'm getting sick of this. Then that night, he's telling his wife Annie, like I got another message, and she's like, "Well, what did it say?" And then like she even makes the joke like, "This is a really like inconvenient voice you keep having here, Ray," because like I said, like it doesn't really tell him anything. But at the book burning PTA meeting, they talk about like Terrence Mann, and that's where who is James Earl Jones. And I know Terrence Mann is the name of an author. I didn't. I apologize. I didn't do.
it's the name of like Rum Tum Tugger, like an actor. Terrence Mann is the guy who played the Beast on Broadway. He played Rum Tum Tugger. He's currently on the show Foundation. He is like when if you saw
Oh, you
a
mean
picture of
what's the
Terrence
name
Mann,
of the original roadie? The guy who
what
played uh, in Iron Man.
Terrence Howard.
Okay. Anyway, so I knew that name was real, but it obviously does not
Terrence
tie
there
in with
yeah,
Field of Dreams.
I don't think that yeah, I think that they were just like
But I could
Terry
have
Mann sounds
sworn,
like a name and I was like, well it is. He's an actor.
no, I could have sworn there was like an author, like I don't know this Terrence. I'm not in that musical theater stuff, so I don't know if he was around when I was a kid and he's like really old now or whatever. Um, but I know from the original time I saw this movie that I knew Terrence. I'm pretty sure, anyways. I don't want to sit here and say it under, but there was a Terrence Mann that was an actual author, and I don't think he was playing that guy. It just happened to be a coincidence or whatever. But are you looking it up?
Yeah. Um it's a real no, hold on.
Bibbidi
Oh,
bobbidi boo.
wait,
Oh,
what?
wait,
Is
what?
it not? Oh, I think it's JD Salinger.
That's who he's supposed to be? Because that would make sense. Because didn't Salinger like become a hermit?
He's is based on JD Salinger. Yes.
Gotcha. That's probably what I was thinking. Because I was really into this movie when I was young, but younger. I'm
The way
still
that was
young at
worded made
heart.
it seem like JD Salinger's name was Terrence Mann, and I was like, that's not correct. And then it said it was supposed to be based on JD Salinger.
Right.
That makes more
But
sense.
that's when he figures out who the what the message is. Well, he thinks the second message is about is Terrence Mann. So he does research, finds out Terrence Mann was a baseball nut, and which I don't get. And correct me, but they keep talking about Baltimore, but he takes him to Fenway, which is in Boston. But they mentioned Baltimore a couple of times, and I didn't want to go back, but like they have to be in Boston, right? Why do they keep bringing up Baltimore? Because they even bring it up when they go. 'Cause anyways, that's off topic. I'll stop with that. But the message that Ray works out what the message wants him to do, and it's basically he needs the Terrence Mann hadn't gone to a baseball game in like 40 years or 38 years or something like that, and that he just needs to go and get Terrence Mann and take him to a baseball game, and that he'll get a message when he's at the baseball game, another message from the voice
as
of
himself.
as himself. Yes, and that's where it leads to James Earl Jones's introduction to the movie, and probably the most hilarious scene in the movie, which is Kevin Costner trying to find James Earl Jones, where people say things to him like he goes, "He's a friend of mine. I'm trying to find his place," and the guy's like, "Well, if he's such a friend, why didn't he give you better instructions to his apartment?" And which I just find great because it's like, yeah, that is so true. Like
He
you're
would
obviously
tell you how to get
lying to
there.
me, yeah. And then obviously just him trying to convince James Earl Jones to go to a baseball game with him is
The
hilarious.
best is when he goes to shut the door and Kevin Costner puts his, instead of just like one arm, puts his both arms like this
And his
through the door,
shoulder, like
like,
yeah.
and he's like this to try and stop, and he's like, no,
And it doesn't work. Like
yeah,
James, like it's not just his voice that is powerful. Like
yeah,
James,
he's like, absolutely not,
yeah,
no.
Kevin Costner's like 20 years younger than him, and James Earl Jones is just like completely in physical control over Kevin Costner
Well, I
throughout the
also
whole
forget
interaction
how,
of that scene.
I forget how tall, because like I know how tall Kevin Costner is. I watch Yellowstone, a show I think is genuinely funny to watch, but I so like I've always, again, I've seen a lot of Kevin Costner movies, but for the most part, James Earl Jones I've seen in a lot of his stuff is voiceover things, and so I forget how tall James Earl Jones is. And so watching this movie and watching him and Kevin Costner kind of be eye to eye, I'm like, I forget James Earl Jones is like a tall dude. And then they're like walking next to each other. I'm like, yeah, he's like a big guy. And so when
Dude,
Kevin Costner goes face
Falsa
to face, I'm
Doom.
like, well,
He
I know,
played
but like,
Falsa Doom in Conan. He was standing toe to toe with
well, I know, but
Schwarzenegger.
but I like I forget about it because it's not like I'm not watching Conan all the time, but like I then watch movies like this and I'm like, right, Mufasa's like not short, so
No.
like he like can take Kevin Costner out with his fake gun that is just his hand, and he even says that's just your hand
He's like,
in your
show me,
pocket. And he's
show me
like,
your gun.
no,
What do
I'm
you
not
mean?
gonna
I'm not going to
show you
show
my
you my
gun
gun. It's like, what said nobody with a gun ever?
ever. And then
They can't
and
wait
he
to show
falls
you their gun.
and then he falls into the papers and goes, "You're a pacifist.
Yeah, wait. My favorite is he was like, you can't do that. And he's like, rules? There's no rules here. Like,
You're
and he's
trying to
grabbing,
kidnap
and
me."
he moved so deliberately and so slow. That's what I meant by like he just like because it was a complete physical control the whole time. Like he just like let me get my crowbar here. I'm gonna slowly get it up here so I can
And
smash you with it.
Kevin Costner's like, "What are you doing? What is that?
You can't
What
do
are we doing?
that.
What are you doing?" He's like, "What do you mean
Oh,
I can't do it? You
rules?
broke
There's
into my
no
home.
rules here.
You came and broke into my home." And he goes, "I was just trying to get you to come to a baseball game." And he's like, "Why?" Like,
Oh, how about
he
the? I was just hoping you'd come with me. So you are kidnapping me then? Like,
to a baseball game.
is it a kidnapping when you're agreeing? Like it's just so great. And then they get to the baseball game, and it leads to the other hilarious scene in this movie when James Earl Jones starts sharing like why, because basically the pain that Kevin Costner thinks is that James Earl Jones was like the leader of the hippies back in the day, and then like suddenly he just stops in like 74, I think was the year that they gave, where he's just like done with he hasn't written anything, and then he became a guy who made like computer software to teach kids how to resolve conflicts without violence. And they're talking and he's like saying all this stuff, and then he goes, so what do you want? And James Earl Jones goes on this, and they're in the baseball stadium, right? You gotta that's important. And he's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "I just want people to leave me alone. I want them to think for themselves. Like, I don't want to be a leader anymore. I just want to live my life, and I need my privacy and like all this stuff." And he's done, and it's this great like speech, and then he just goes, "No, I meant like." what do you want? And he looks in there at the concession stand and he's like, I want a dog and a beer. And then they talk about what he said, but it's just like it's not out of place to have like humor like that in a movie like this. It could be, but this is like
Yeah,
not out of place at all. It's just like perfect. James Earl Jones and Kevin Costner, like the movie is great prior because like Annie is a great character and his marriage to Annie is like great. And then James Earl Jones is like heightens everything and their relationship is great. Like James Earl Jones or Terry and Ray, like they're
yeah,
great, and then they become like Batman and Robin. James Earl Jones, obviously Batman in this scenario, and Kevin Costner is more Nightwing than Robin, but he's still a sidekick. James Earl Jones takes over from that moment, and they go to the baseball game and they get the message. Oh, speaking of which, because I did want to get into how like Annie is a great wife and does the right things, is that like she is straight up like, dude, we are in moderate to major financial strife right now. Like you're not going to Boston to meet Terrence Mann and take him to a baseball game. We can't afford that. And then he mentions Fenway. He's like, I want to take him to Fenway. And she goes, is that the stadium with the big green wall in left field? Which it is. And they find out they have like the same dream,
same dream.
which is the only reason why Annie's like, go. Like she's supporting him because it's too much of a coincidence that they would have the same dream and all this stuff. She was not letting him go, which she shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like I want to like because if he's going crazy, like which a lot of people throughout the movie think he is, but she's seen some stuff. She's seen Shoeless Joe and the Eight Men Out, and like she's seen these ghosts roll up. But even still, the voice knew I gotta convince the wife that it's okay because this dude's all in. But the wife is still thinking rationally, like, "Yo, man, we is the voice gonna pay for this crap? Because
Yeah,
I'm not paying for it." And that's what I like about the movie, and that's why I think it is a very realistic portrayal. Is because like she is being a good partner to him throughout, and once that like that moment happens, she's all in at that point. Like, there's no more convincing of Annie.
yeah. I do like when they're on the stairs and he points and she turns around and they both and she's like, "I gotta help you pack." I'm like, it's like the quickest little
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"We gotta go
like
back
it's just
upstairs. We
like
gotta go back upstairs."
I get it. Like I get it. You're right.
Yeah,
This is insane. Like that's what I love about it. But they go to the baseball game and they get the message, and the message is Archibald Moonlight Graham, New York Giants, 1922. Uh, no at bats, and then it says go the distance. But and he like James Earl Jones, um, like still acting like he's angry at this moment. Ray says, I got the
he
message.
pretends.
What?
No, he pretends he doesn't see it.
Right, but I'm saying he's still acting angry. I was going to get to that because that's later on where he like I seen it. Although did he? Because it's not like Kevin Costner was hiding his scorebook where he wrote real big Moonlight Graham 1922 New York. I mean, they're not small books. If you've never seen a scorebook, like they're bigger than an 8 by 11 sheet of paper, So did
I
he
think he
see it?
saw it.
Well, there's proof that he's at least heard the voice because Kevin Costner never told him what the voice said.
Well, and then he
James Earl
also
Jones tells him the voice. So I think I agree, but I'm just saying like could have been a little bit more secretive with what you're writing down in the book. But he says, I got the message. We can leave whenever you want. And James Earl Jones is like, let's get out of here. And then when they leave, that's when he's like, you got another message, didn't you? And he's like, yeah. And then Kevin Costner lies to James Earl Jones. There's a lot of lying between those guys that come up later where it's like, why didn't you tell me? It's like, well, you had a fake gun pointed at me, like that kind of stuff. But, like it's another like great, like this movie is very epic in how it's shot because I also love that like they're at the place, it's dark outside and all this stuff, and James Earl Jones is like, you got another message. Kevin Costner's like, yeah, it said he's done enough, leave the man alone. And then he does this like big U-turn with his VW bus because of course He's a hippie. He's
Yeah,
got a
he's
VW
got a
bus.
VW bus.
He does the big like U-turn, and as soon as he perfectly centered between the two headlights stands James Earl Jones. Moonlight Graham. Sorry, that was a bad James Earl Jones impression.
Yeah,
I
but
can only
you
do it if
tried.
I'm doing Darth Vader. But
But you
and then
tried, and that's what counts.
right, and then he says, "Did you hear it? It's okay." Like I also love how he gets people to say that they heard the voice. He's like, "Did you hear the voice? It's okay. I heard it too. Like we can both be crazy together." Like kind of
It's just
thing.
crazy
When
together.
he's like, "Go the distance," and he's like, "Yeah. What do you think it means?" And it means we're going to Chisholm, Minnesota, to find Moonlight Graham. And that's another like it just keeps escalating because I keep saying it's another great like sequence because then they go to Minnesota after a great I think it's a Bob Seger song at that point where they're just driving on roads and you hear like against the wind or whatever like as they're driving
Yeah,
and that's when they go and find out the Moonlight Graham was dead for what was like since 1978 for like 10 years or something
but
like
then,
that.
but then they get to meet his Doctor Ghost self or whatever,
Yeah.
old man ghost self, who's like, he's like, I've always wanted to be. I would have given up baseball any day of the week if it meant I could be
No.
a doctor for the rest of my life or whatever he says.
Okay, so Kevin Costner meets him because Kevin Costner time travels in this movie in 1974. He goes back in time 14 years because and The Godfather is one of the 10 best movies of the year. That's they date it by a license plate and the
Yeah,
fact that
exactly. He like that is like so unclear, but you're also like whatever. I'm vibing. I also don't care that we time travel. Like I like
right.
recognize it,
But
but also
again,
was like I don't care that we time traveled. I was just like this is Ghost Man, and that's fine. I'm talking to Ghost Man. I
yeah,
don't need to care.
yeah, like,
There's ghosts everywhere. Why does it
but
matter?
it's great because like even like I said, the way they shoot it, it's like he's like in the shadows with like a
He almost
halo of
looks like
light
the
like
fucking
going
priest
over
from
him, and
the
he's
fucking
he's
Exorcist. Like,
Exorcist. I was just gonna say that.
The Exorcist. Like if it was like
Yeah. The only difference is that it's like yeah, the only difference is it has that heavenly
instead of the
music versus
what
like
I
the
can't even think of the
Exorcist music.
Exorcist music right
Yeah,
now. It's like
I don't want to. I'm good. Don't put that in my head. But and then they meet Moonlight Graham and or he meets Moonlight Graham and it's the great Burt Lancaster in his last role ever, and it's just fantastic. And I will say that like if I am like 10% of the husband that Burt Lancaster is, then like I am fine. Like I am a great husband because like oh my God, like dude, like I mean it's just like saintly. It's like hey. It's your last role, Burt. Like, how would you like to be a saint in your last role? And he's like, fine, I'll do it. I'm
he
Burt
rolls
Lancaster.
up.
Like, and the conversation goes because this is one of those ones because I've seen this movie quite a bit, which seems to be a theme on this podcast. But the conversation goes, the gist of it is that like Burt Lancaster tells him about his baseball career, and then he ends the story with like, but I never got in a bat. Like I would love to get in a bat where I could get in that box and wink at the pitcher and let him know, make him think I know something that he doesn't know, and all this stuff. And Kevin Costner goes, "What if I told you there's a place where you can get that? Like, and I'm inviting you there." And Burt Lancaster's like, no, I'm good. And Kevin Costner like he stands up and he says, um, doesn't it kill you like to get that close to your dream, like this close to your dream, and not be able to fulfill it? And Burt Lancaster says, no. If I only got to be, or I only got, he goes, doesn't it kill you that you only got to be in the game for 5 minutes and you never got the bat? Like you got that close and you never got the bat. Burt Lancaster goes, no. The real shame would have been if I only got to be a doctor for 5 minutes. Like I saved,
Yeah.
like, like that was like I did what I needed to do with like all my life and everything. And then he says, because um, like I said, he's the greatest husband ever. He goes, I better get going before Alicia thinks I'm seeing somebody. And he winks and smiles. And it's awkwardly, they hold on it a little too long. Like the smile, like most people are like, and then they're done. But he just like holds it like a freeze frame in a sitcom. And it just, I don't know about you, but it just feels like 2 seconds too long of a smile. Um,
You're like, okay, bye. You can go. I gotta go find
yeah,
James Earl Jones,
I'm
who I just like
like,
left in a
how
hotel.
do I get back to
I just left him in the
1988? Like,
hotel room.
is Doc Brown? You're a Doc. Do you know another Doc by the
I
name
told
of
him,
Brown?
I
I
told
need
him I
a.
was gonna go for a walk, and I time traveled a full like decade and a
Yeah,
half.
right. Right, but what's great is the story, like, because like they say when he died that they found like his wife only wore blue dresses, and when he died they found like dozens of boxes of blue hats that he never gave his wife. Like it's just like the greatest man, husband, like kindest person like ever. But they're like again another moment where it's like, hey man, like that didn't work out. I guess we got to go. James Earl Jones, he calls his wife, says we're coming home. James Earl Jones is like, I'm coming with you. And then there's a hitchhiker as they're driving back to Iowa, and the hitchhiker is Archibald Graham.
Archie.
And basically, yeah, he accepted Kevin Costner's offer of like coming to play baseball with the White Sox, and they go back to the farm, and that's like you get Moonlight Graham, you get the sequence where Moonlight Graham gets to wink at the pitcher and gets his at bat. He and spoiler alert, it's a sacrifice fly ball to score a run. If you don't know what a sacrifice fly ball is, why are you listening to a
About
podcast
Field
about a
Dreams.
baseball movie? Uh, yeah, but and then soon as Archibald Graham gets his at bat, you come to the
Which
end,
we'll get to in
which
we'll
is
get
the tear
to in a minute.
jerking.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Wait.
but like
Oh god, I'm
that's
losing my mind. Okay. So Archie, I recognize Frank Whaley, but I couldn't remember why. He's on a lot of things. Nope.
Opportunity
I
Knocks.
recognize him from the Christian Bale, Robert Sean Leonard movie called Swing Kids, which is a movie from 1993 about a jazz beat, uh, like a American big band jazz beat like group that are all together in Nazi Germany, and they're like swing dancing kids, and I love that movie. And I was like, why do I like? I know I've seen Field of Dreams a lot, but I recognize him now as an adult in a different way. It is because of Swing Kids.
Christian Bale was in some
Oh,
weird movies
well, it
back
was
in the
Newsies
day.
and Swing Kids were like back to back, so it was like he was just like
Yeah,
on this kick where he was dancing and singing and having time,
yeah.
and now he's like, I will never. Don't ask me to be in a musical.
Oh, isn't
You're
that
like,
isn't that like? Didn't someone come up to him when he was like 13 and be like, "I really love your dancing"? And he was like, "Good for
yeah,
you,
13.
good
He
for
was like, good for
you."
you. No, but yeah, but that is. I'll talk about what I want to talk about with Archie later because it's important later. Um,
Go ahead though, because I got us up to the tear
it is
jerking moment
it
with all
is
the great
very
speeches.
nice when he is like having that speech in the beginning where he is like, I want to have that at bat, but that is not what is important. That wasn't my dream. My dream was getting to be a doctor. Having him have the at bat, but then still get to like, so what yeah,
Do what he
yeah.
went it
So
was
what
meant to
ends up
do.
happening, I'll explain. So what ends up happening is we get back to the farm, back to the crops and to the field, as it were, and villain, the Field of
Of
Dreams,
dreams.
and the villain himself, the brother who just cares but doesn't see the ghosts because he can't believe. It's like Peter Pan. He can't fucking believe in the field, so then he doesn't see any
Yeah.
of the players, which is really cool when they're playing.
It's like think his happy thought is yelling at his
It is
sister.
really cool when they're playing because it's like the ball. Like he walks
He
through the
walks right
field
through
and
the
like
field. They're
your
so
pitches
mad
are
at
getting
him.
thrown and he's just like, but the when they're all fighting on the bleachers, Karen, which here is the thing that is so confusing about this scene. It has like three added layers that are kind of not necessary. Karen says something, her uncle grabs her, so then Ray is like, don't fucking touch my kid. So then they're all fighting back and forth. And so then Karen falls off the top of the bleachers and falls to the ground and is just like laying there. Now, all of that,
Her lips are
yeah,
comically
all
blue
of
in
that
that
makes
scene too.
sense, right? All of that like plays out in a way that you're like, he grabbed her, she fell, she got knocked out. Ray is freaking out. Ray is like, everyone wait, because he's thinking like logically, like he can see Archie. Archie's moving. He knows Archie. What is a doctor? He's trying to figure out what's going on. Archie walks from being Frank Whaley, walks through the crowd, and then like turns into Burt Lancaster as a doctor. And Burt Lancaster pats her on the back and goes, "She choked on a hot dog." And I'm like, how did that happen? Now, like that's the part that is like a third layer that just got added.
She's eating the
But
hot dog. Like
I
she has a hot dog in
understand,
her
but that
hand
is like
when it
a third
happens.
layer of like the scene that I'm like, I don't understand how like that just made it complicated in a way that I'm like, you wouldn't instantly just fall to the ground and be knocked the fuck out.
Oh, you
But
don't know that. I mean, I get what you're saying, but like, if you ever fallen off of the bleachers and
at
choked
the
on a
same
hot dog,
time,
or have you ever
the
seen it
same time,
happen?
yeah, in
Well,
field
like,
intensity.
then we, you could suspend disbelief that, like, well, and the one time you saw it happen, they were immediately unconscious on the ground.
With
So,
blue
like,
lips.
it's safe to assume
With
that that's what
blue
happens.
lips.
Yeah,
I just was like, I always
but
assumed that
like,
she just like got knocked out, and then he was coming and being like, she's okay, and like, and then I always forget that she choked on the hot dog, and then he does it. I'm like, that's right, she's choking on a hot dog. Like every time I forget that she chokes on the hot dog until he slaps her on the back and goes, she was choking on a hot dog. Like I forget every time because I think some part of my brain is like, this is the insane part of this scene, not everything leading up to it. The hot dog is the part my brain can't justify.
well, yeah, and and I know you probably did it. Like the stuff, like that scene is also just like so intense because like Timothy Busfield's like, sell the farm, Ray. And his daughter keeps going, you
Yeah,
don't have to sell the farm, Daddy. And he's just like, 1 minute, Karen. Like every single time, it's like freaking Robin Scherbatsky on, God damn it, Karen. Like, on How I Met Your Mother. And she's like, but you don't have to sell the farm. And then Kevin Costner channels his inner Harrison Ford with the wait, just wait, like telling
yeah.
with the finger, just as it's not crooked enough, but it's his inner, it's his Harrison Ford finger, his impression. And Karen, like I said, essentially says the same speech that James Earl Jones says. And it works on Kevin Costner and literally nobody else. Like Timothy Busfield, like you said, completely unmoved by that speech. He's like, people will come, Dad. Like they will know why. They're just gonna show up. They're gonna give us money. Everything's gonna be all right. Like, don't you worry about it. And Kevin Costner like sits there and he's like, that's great, Karen. Timothy Busfield's like, that's great, Karen. Like, sell the farm, Ray. And Ray's just like, no. And he's like, your daughter ruined my plans to acquire this farm. And that's like
Villain.
when that all happens.
Villain.
Right. And then, but that's where it all starts for me. Like, that's when I start getting like real emotional because it's like, Burt Lang, like, because it's like, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. It's like he played baseball. Thank you. I got to take my bat. I got to do that. But like I'm a
Yeah,
doctor first, and this kid needs help. And they establish when you find out that he's dead that like he always took care of kids. Like he was that whole town's doctor, but the kids he always
yeah,
took care of the kids. If it was a baseball ticket, got slipped in their pocket, like that kind of stuff. And it's just like he goes over, does it, and then they realize, and he's like, "It's all right, it's all right." And then all the bait, like like Kevin Costner's like, "You can't go back," and he's like, "It's okay." Besides, least you'll think I'm seeing somebody. And he winks, and then he just like walks back to the field. And all the players are like, "Good job, Doc." Like it's like it just starts. I'm getting like emotional like now, like because it's just like, oh my God, like this guy is a saint. Like he's a saint. And then like James Earl Jones stands up, and it's great because Timothy Busfield's gone by then because he finally like
Well,
believes
he's not even
because
gone. He just
where did
gets to
that guy
stand
come
up and
from?
go, "Where'd that guy come from? Where are all these baseball players from?"
No, Annie
Oh,
takes him and
she
then
goes.
comes
That's
back.
right.
Like she's
She
like,
goes,
"Come
"You've
on,
had a
bro,"
bad day."
and she walks him to the house, and then and then she comes
He
back
gets. He gets.
because it's
He gets.
great.
She goes, "You've had a busy
Because then
day."
James Earl Jones,
Takes him away.
yeah, then James Earl Jones is like, he just people will come, Ray. And the way he says it's like, I don't know the whole speech, but I know that my favorite parts is like, they'll just come to Iowa City and then they'll get bored and they'll go around and they'll find your field and they'll be like, "Do you mind if we look around?" And you'll go, "Sure, man, just $20 a person." Because, Ray, it's money that they have, but peace that they need. Like, and you're just like, holy crap, man, you can literally read the ingredients to chicken soup and it would be like the most enthralling thing ever to me. Like, I would just be like, "So what do you do with the noodles?
Well, and it is
When do you
also
put
like
them
when you
in?"
stop and
Like,
think about it, it's like,
like,
wow, he's kind of like telling Ray to like use capitalism to keep this afloat. Like if you stop and think, you're like,
yeah, yeah. Like the ghosts are like, "How did you not get this? Like, why didn't you charge
yeah,
your wife to watch
you're
this
like,
game?" Like,
babe, you're pushing capitalism. Like this is like all about like dreams and peace, but in reality, it's like, nah, we're gonna make you a lot of money.
yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is because like they like Ray Liotta's all like, "I think we're gonna call it. That girl
Yeah, where
almost
we have
died, kind of ruined our vibe." And then Archie, like now he's gone. Who's playing right field? Like kind of deal. And that's like great, all that stuff. But like, then he's like, "Do you want to come?" And he's not talking to Ray, he's talking to James Earl Jones. And Kevin Costner's like, "I did all this crap for you and never once asked what's in it for me." And Ray Liotta just goes, "So what are you asking, Ray?" And he's like, "What's in it for me?" And it's like, he could literally go, "Have you not been listening? People are going to come. Charge them money. You're going to get rich. Like, I can't do anything with money. I live in a cornfield, Ray. Like, I'm playing for
that's why
free for
I'm
the love of the game."
that's why I'm mad the Mike Schur show isn't happening anymore because you know that that's what that shoeless Joe Jackson character would have been like by the end of it. It's like, what do you think that you're getting out of this? Because I said if you
Right.
build it, he will come. So what do you assume that means? Who are you trying to talk to? Not
Well,
me.
see, but like when they show him the vision, in and Ray Kinsella's defense, when they show him the vision, okay, Shoeless Joe Jackson is in the outfield in the vision. That's why he thinks Shoeless Joe Jackson's coming. Like, so like the whole like, it helps with the surprise in the end, but it's obvious why he thinks Shoeless Joe Jackson's coming because they were like, "Build this baseball field. Here's Shoeless Joe Jackson. You're gonna get to meet a a baseball player with the weirdest nickname of all time because he played baseball in his socks for a couple of innings." But like, yeah, that's great because like the whole thing is that like he does like Terrence Mann doesn't want to write anymore, and then he's like, "Imagine the story it'll tell." And like when he goes, that's all great, but like like the ending is just like, the movie is just like a perfect setup for the ending. And even when you know it's coming, it still gets you because like you don't know how long his dad was there. Like, did he just watch his dad play the whole game and not realize that it was his old
Yeah.
man? Because you really can't. You've been to baseball games. You can't really see the face unless it's on the jumbotron. It's like, oh, that's what that guy looks like. So they got a hat on. They're
Well,
most of the
also
time like
his
not
dad's his
looking
dad's
at the
the catcher,
crowd.
so
Right,
you
with a
really gotta
mask
see the
on and
catcher.
stuff. But like that's where Annie is like the all-star of the movie yet again though, is because like Ray Liotta's like, if you build it, he will come. Ease his pain. Go the distance. And he does like, and it's like, all those messages were leading me to fucking freaking my dad. And it's like, yeah, yeah, they were.
Yeah,
And it's
buddy.
it's just like, it's just like great. And he's like, oh my God, that's my dad. Like, I've never seen him this young and like all this stuff. And he's like, what do I do? And Annie's just like, why don't you introduce him to his granddaughter? And it's just like, yes, like again, just all star of the movie is his wife
See, that's the
Annie.
part that just
Easily the
took me out, and I like because I forgot about it because I was like, that's the one thing that I've when I stop and think about it makes me the most sad because I'm like, man, whoever I marry and have kids with, like my dad's never gonna know him, and like when I saw that, I was like, I'm Kevin Costner, like my dad never like, and I just started sobbing because I was like, that's me, like Ray Kinsella, like his dad never met Annie and
oh
his kid, and I was like, oh, fuck, that's me. Like this is literally like would be me if I built a fucking field in the, like a baseball diamond in the middle of a cornfield and was like,
right.
"What up, Dad? These are my kids."
Oh, Dad would have done that. He would have had kids playing baseball there all the time. He'd just be sitting on that porch
Yeah.
watching them, like he did when we played basketball in the driveway. He'd just be sitting there watching them play baseball always, and he'd want games
Well,
constantly,
that's
like all
the one
day and
thing I
night.
am after finishing this movie yesterday. I was like, I am glad that Dad did get to see Kevin Costner do that weird thing he did like a couple of years ago, where they did the game.
What, clean the ocean with his brother's
No, no,
oil
where they did
thing?
the game.
Oh,
Yeah,
at
where
the
they
Field of
actually did the
Dreams.
Field of
Yeah,
Dreams game, and Kevin Costner just came out and he walked through the field and like busted up into it, and I was like, this is actually like cheesy and cool. Kevin Costner's like, I'm here. I was like, great. I'm
yeah.
so happy you're
Hi, it's
here.
me, Kev.
So happy you're here in this movie where
Ooh.
you actively are like, I don't like baseball. Like you say it multiple times in this movie. You're like, not for me. I do like. We didn't mention this in this movie. I do like that she was Joe Jackson is like, what are these lights?
Well, yeah, because there wasn't lights in
Yeah, I know.
baseball stadiums for like I think it was like another 40
But it's just
years or
funny.
something like that. They always
He's like,
played day games.
what are these? What are we doing? It's harder to see the ball. They're like,
Dude, I think it's like Ray Liotta's one of his finest performances, but you still get a gangster
oh,
Ray
towards the
Liotta
end
moment
when
in that
he's
movie.
like, he's like,
Ty Cobb when yeah, he's like, like we have a lot of people who want to come here. He was like, Ty Cobb asked to come, but none of us liked him when he was alive, so he told him to stick it.
ouch.
And you're just like, oh,
That's Henry.
oh, it's
There's
Henry Hill from
That's Henry O before
yeah,
Henry O. That was his audition.
yeah.
Martin Scorsese saw that and
He,
went,
yeah, like Martin Scorsese saw that and was like, "Oh, I'm making movies that people actually want to like that are a time frame that people actually would be willing to sit through. So let me cast Ray Liotta. Now I want 7 hours of your time as
and
an old
I'll
man.
give it to him.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you all the movies that you like aren't real cinema and that you're stupid for it, which is why I refuse to see Flowers of the
Good job.
Killer Moon or
You're
whatever the stupid
perfect.
thing
Great
is.
work. You're wrong.
I read your
Complete your
article.
leak. No notes. And
Yeah, you wasted yeah, and 7 hours of your life are gone because
yeah,
you
and I
watched it
love it.
twice.
I would do it again.
Good, but I and then the ending sequence is great because they never truly let you know until the final moment if his dad knows that he's talking to his daughter-in-law and his granddaughter because like there's that one sentence where he's just like, Karen, fa- this is John, and he's like, nice to meet you, Karen, and like, thanks, and then like Annie like leaves, and she's like, it was really nice to meet you, and he was like, it was nice to meet you too, and then they like walk off, and then he's like, all right, I'm gonna go, and then Kevin Costner's like, hey, Dad, want to have a catch? and and like that he's like, yes, I would like that very much. And then like, oh my God, I'm like, my eyes are like watering up right now because it's just like every time it's like I can't
It's
not have
good.
catch with my dad anymore. And he was alive and we were crying, and it is so much worse. But like honestly, from the moment Burt Lancaster gives it all up
Hmm.
until that. And then you see the cars coming from all directions to the farm. Like, where are they parking? He's not even having any of the other corn left.
No, it's just parking. It's
And
just
it's
parking.
just
You keep a little
yeah,
thing
yeah, like it's
around
just
it.
come watch the ghosts play
Yeah,
baseball.
that's what I don't understand. It's like, what are they coming to see? The ghost? Because I feel like Ray Liotta made it very clear that they were done.
No, for the day.
Oh, he
Said I'll
did?
see you
Okay.
tomorrow. They
Okay,
weren't
because to
done.
me it read as he was like, I'm
He
out.
says
Bye.
we're if you go back and watch it, he says, I think we're gonna wrap it up
Okay.
today. I'll see you
Okay.
tomorrow. And then he says to James Earl Jones, do you want to come? And that's when the
Okay.
final
Because I was
moments
like,
like
I read
happen.
that as him being
But
like, I
my my question to you is, does James Earl Jones come back the next day?
I feel like no, he'll come back when he feels like it. Like he comes back if he has something to say.
No, I meant okay, let me rephrase. Does he come back, or like is he dead?
Oh.
Because that's because like how do you go to heaven if you're not dead? If that's where they're going. But are they in heaven? Because every time the baseball players get there, they ask,
No,
"Is this
no, it's
heaven?"
Iowa. Um,
But you see
yeah.
my point. Like
Is this
is he
purgatory?
going to
I'm
come
sure there's
back?
so many think pieces.
Yeah, like I'm sure you could call up some religious leader and they would
Oh, I said
tell
there's
you like
think
that's the
pieces, but
devil's work.
sure. Um,
But that's what I always wonder, and I think he comes back because I think the theme of the movie is that like people have a purpose and they have to fulfill their purpose, and James Earl Jones needs to write again, and that's why that's the pain. Like they sent Kevin Costner to ease his pain because James Earl Jones still has stories to write, and they needed to
yeah.
like you know what I mean, and that, like the catalyst, just like Archie Graham lived a good life. The only thing that doesn't track with that is that like the eight baseball players from the 1919 World Series, like they took the money, they threw the game. Why do they deserve a second chance? What everybody else? No, but like I mean, the theme like Archie Graham didn't get that at bat, but he was great and he like was an important person and he touched a lot of lives in his town. Terrence Mann, like like he was jaded by the system. Martin died and Bobby. He says like Martin Luther King, Bobby died, and then people couldn't think for themselves. So like he became jaded, but he did good things and did the right thing. Okay, like the argument for Shoeless Joe is like, yeah, he took the money, but like you can't prove he threw the series. He had the highest batting average and like did all this great stuff. But the fact still remains, what about the other seven guys? Why did
I
they get a
I
second
guess because they
chance?
were just
Like,
there,
what did they do?
just like on the team.
Yeah, that or like maybe like they like maybe that was like their penance is like if we help these people
Well, that
by
also,
helping these
I mean,
people, we're
that
gaining
kind of like
forgiveness.
convert, like, because when you were like, when he keeps saying, "Is this heaven?" It makes me think, like, I was like, I guess it kind of feels like purgatory.
Yeah, like maybe they're just like stuck there, and then finally they're like, okay, they've been stuck there for 58 years. Because I mean, because the thing is a lot of them like knew that they died. Like there's like mentions
I
where
mean, he
he's
said,
like, I've been dead since
well, the one guy
1971,
made
and
the joke. He
this
goes,
still
"You've been
fits
mad
like a
about this for
glove.
63 years or whatever he said."
Yeah, yeah. So like they're fully aware that they died and how they
It's
died and
purgatory.
stuff. So I don't know. But I will say, like, I've seen a lot of movies a lot of times, and I've seen Field of Dreams quite a bit, but it is one of those movies that, like, it's you got to be in the right mood. Like, I had to like force myself to watch it. Once you get into it, it's really good, but it's just, especially like, my wife said it yesterday. It's the one movie that's guaranteed to make most men
Oh, well,
cry.
and it's also an additional layer, I think, now for us. 'Cause, like, I used to cry anyway, but as I just labeled it,
I mean, I cry when
but
Spock
as I just
dies at the
labeled
end of
it, it
Star
is
Trek 2 now.
now part of the Dead Dad Club. So a movie that is in the Dead Dad Club doesn't really, like, it's not fun to watch if you're not in the right mood for it. I have a lot of
Exactly.
movies. I have one of my letterbox tags is Dead Dad Club, and I just late.
Well, I mean, dude, just any
Yeah,
superhero
there's quite a
movie.
few of those on here, like the Batman, No Way Home, the Avengers Endgame.
Or Batman Begins,
That's
or
on here. Or no, that
Batman,
is not tagged
or
that
the
because I
Adam
have not
West
watched it
Batman.
recently enough where I've like written a review. If I write a review, that's when it gets the tag. But when I rewatch Batman Begins, it will have the Dead Dad tag. Dead Dad Club.
Nice. So, anyways, we haven't really talked about it like we normally do. I would like to propose a
Oh,
movie for next, seeking
okay.
your approval. I mentioned it, you rolled your eyes when I mentioned it, but it's been removed. I mean, it's far enough removed that I don't know if you'll roll your eyes again, but how do you feel about
Oh,
Tenacious
for
D as a
you,
pick
because
of
you want to
destiny?
talk about Tenacious D? Oh my god.
I love the D.
We can do Tenacious D.
Well, you don't
We can do
have to.
Tenacious D.
What do you want to watch? Okay,
We
thank
can
you.
do Tenacious
I get
D,
to pick one, folks.
definitely. But yeah,
Also, my list is
we're
gone.
going rogue.
I don't. Oh wait, is this it? My
Yeah,
list is not
congrats to
gone.
you.
It's right here. I found it. I
You
must
found
have
your
moved it for
list.
cleaning purposes. Cool. So Tenacious
Perfect.
D. That's our next episode.
Nailed it.
So Rachel, why don't you
They can
tell
find
them
me
where they can
on
find you on
the
social
artist
media?
formerly known as Twitter at Rachel Leishman, on Instagram at Rachel underscore Leishman. You can find my work at the Mary Sue. I also do some reality TV stuff, and I do SNL, Virgin Whatnot, Collider. You can also listen to my podcasts, Padro Pascal, as well as the Fordcast. And yeah, Patrick, where can the people find you?
Wherever
Patrick,
love
where can the people
has
find
been.
you?
Hold on, let me ask me again. Wherever love has been outlawed and justice has no name,
Good job.
I'll be there fighting the good fight.
Yep.
There's one last thing I wanted to say.
And until
Patrick,
next time,
this is
bye
Patrick. You
bye.